Hey guys, it's Pastor Bruce. The Apostle Paul begins Romans chapter 7 with an example from marriage, explaining that if either member of a couple dies, the other is free to remarry without the threat of adultery. In the same way, when a believer dies to sin, they are no longer under the obligations of the law. They're no longer married to the law. They don't need to keep the rules and regulations to please the law. They're not chained to this harsh spouse. Instead, they are now married to one whom they desire to please, Jesus and His righteousness. Paul, though, asks this question: is the law sin? They're so closely related, that's a very logical question. The law defines sin. If I go out and drive 120 miles an hour, I know somewhere inside of me that I'm endangering myself and probably endangering others as well. But it's the law that tells me that's sin. Don't do that. Evil desire in the flesh of individuals, though, makes us rebel against the law. Some, knowing that about themselves, will go out and try to keep the law. But trying to keep the law leads to death because nobody can keep the law. The law is holy and righteous and defines sin, and none of us will be able to keep the law. The challenge that we run into, though, is when you do try to do good and keep the rules, you run into the conundrum that Paul describes in the latter part of this chapter. Verse 19 gives it to us very clearly. He writes, "For the good that I will to do, I do not do. But the evil I will not to do, that I practice." The operative words there are I will. We go out in the power of our own flesh and we try to do the right things and it just doesn't work. And you just get all caught up in it as Paul describes here. Instead, recall the phrase I used in the last chapter. We need to experience progressive sanctification. We need to train our flesh to not be caught up in doing good and doing good and doing good. Instead, we need to train our flesh to surrender to the one whom we are now married to. We need to train ourselves to be broken and yielded to the Holy Spirit leading in our lives. And as He directs, it's not about us trying anymore. It's about Him leading. God bless you as you go.